The MCU is full of powerful people, but the Avengers are a pretty exclusive club. Before Doomsday strikes, these are the most powerful non-Avenger heroes still alive in the MCU. At the end of Avengers Endgame, Sam Wilson gets a promotion when he's handed Captain America's shield. That leaves the position of Falcon wide open, and in the Disney Plus series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's revealed who will take up that particular mantle. After getting some critical help from Air Force Captain Joaquin Torres, Wilson passes the jetpack on to him. In Captain America Brave New World, Torres takes to the skies alongside his friend.
Tell me I don't make your old gear look brand new. Who's saying that? Everybody. Everybody is saying that.
While his aerial maneuvers are impressive, Joaquin isn't exactly the strongest. Everything largely comes down to his Falcon suit, and he's taken out of commission during the final third of Brave New World after getting caught by a missile explosion. It's a far cry from his comic book counterpart who possesses actual bird wings and a regenerative healing factor. In the MCU, he's just a guy with some sweet gear. There's nothing wrong with being a normal man who has a flying machine. All it means is that the new Falcon is far from the most powerful hero around. Ranking Moon Knight on any objective scale is a near impossible task, given the character's unparalleled fluidity and unpredictability. It's a task you would have to be deranged to take on, like the character himself at so many points. What sets Moon Knight a cut above so many of his peers is his potential. His many traits that seem at first to be limitations are the very reasons why he's an almost limitless force for good. Due to his dissociative identity disorder, Moon Knight's real identity is really three, at least so far: Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and Jake Lockley. Their constant jockeying for control pulls the hero in multiple directions, but it also gives him access to three unique skill sets and moral compasses. Moon Knight's servitude to the deity Khonshu as his avatar can be restrictive when the god flexes his superhuman will, making the hero offers he sometimes literally can't refuse. Thankfully, that melts away whenever his true capabilities come to the surface.
I have to finish this. If not, I'll never be free.
Maya Lopez, also known as Echo, is another Marvel character whose skill set in the MCU doesn't tally with the comics. In fact, Echo's Disney Plus miniseries changed her powers quite significantly, which left a few fans furious. In Marvel Comics, she can copy her opponent's moves, which may have been seen as too similar to that of Taskmaster and Black Widow. As it stands, she's still a force to be reckoned with as a master martial artist. Kingpin even compliments her on her fighting after her match with Daredevil, noting that she did better against him than most. Maya's most intriguing power is the one that's probably the hardest to define. In the finale of Echo, she accesses Kingpin's trauma and heals him. It's a powerful act that's in line with Maya pursuing less violent methods to subdue any opponents, but how much good did it really do? She may have gotten him to leave her alone momentarily, but it's unclear how much trauma she actually healed if Kingpin continues acting nefarious as New York City mayor in Daredevil Born Again. We'll just have to wait and see more of Echo in the future. Inspired and later mentored by one of the less popular Avengers, Kate Bishop is an archery whiz who took up the art after she watched Hawkeye save countless lives during the Battle of New York. She's dynamite with a bow, and she's even more formidable when she has access to some of Clint Barton's special toys, like his famous trick arrows. Judging by the ending of the Marvels, it seems as though Kate will end up being a member of the Young Avengers. She has plenty of other skills to bring to the team that don't involve shooting things, like her martial arts training. She's able to take on various members of the Tracksuit Mafia as well as Maya Lopez, who should have just as much training as Kate, if not more. Granted, Kate struggles a bit during her fight with Yelena Belova, but battling any widow without having superpowers is a tall order. Clint Barton's apprentice has all the makings of a strong leader, although she still has a ways to go before she can be considered an Avengers-level hero.
Being a hero isn't just for people who can fly or shoot lasers out of their hands. It's for anyone who is brave enough to do what's right.
Though she's one of the newest and youngest additions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Kamala Khan is also one of its brightest stars. Not only is the hero known as Ms. Marvel a fan favorite in the comics with a history of teaming up with practically every hero under the sun, but she's also been established in the MCU as a part of something far greater than herself. Kamala hasn't had the opportunity to join the Avengers, but she does have an important link with one of the group's most powerful members. She and Carol Danvers, along with Monica Rambeau, are roped into becoming a team of three in the Marvels after they become quantum entangled. But even when you disregard Khan's personal and power-related connections to the nigh almighty Captain Marvel, the young heroine is a force to be reckoned with. In her series, Ms. Marvel, Khan demonstrates the exceptionally versatile ability to manipulate hard light, allowing her to conjure essentially anything she can imagine from thin air. Though the extent of her creations has thus far been simple shields, platforms, and giant fists, anything is possible with Khan's hard light power. Her apparently mutant-generated ability to change size and shape at will is another impressive tool in Khan's stylish red belt. When it comes to new MCU heroes and their inevitable comparisons to those of the past, there can be some dramatically big shoes to fill. In the case of Riri Williams, also known as Ironheart, the shoes she's looking to fill are actually boots, and they're pretty famously made of iron, or rather a gold titanium alloy. Inspired by Iron Man Tony Stark, Williams has a lot on her plate if she's going to live up to the legacy of humanity's savior. A true genius in the fields of robotics, electrical engineering, aeronautics, and at least a dozen other major sciences, she's dragged into the MCU after the CIA's use of a vibranium detector she created angers the kingdom of Talokan and its leader, Namor. A device that Williams built for a school project ends up destabilizing multiple nations. Using her advanced intellect, Williams decides that the solution to her problem is to build a mechanical suit and fight alongside the people of Wakanda. The Ironheart armor seems every bit as powerful as the Iron Man armor, suggesting that Williams' intelligence is every bit as advanced as Stark's. The sky is the limit for one of the MCU's most promising up-and-comers.
That thing can fly.
There's an entire YouTube channel dedicated to sightings of me.
Far and away the fluffiest of the heroes on this list, Cosmo the Spacedog is much more than a typical Labrador. She first appears as an exhibit in the Collector's Museum in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But by the time the holiday special comes around, she's part of the team. The powerful pup gets to use her powers for good in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, in which she utilizes a powerful form of telekinesis to fight alongside her comrades. That said, there's only so much psionic energy Cosmo can exert. During the ending of Guardians 3, Cosmo creates an airtight tunnel between Arete Labs and Nowhere, but it takes a heavy toll on her. Mantis strengthens her powers to help her rescue as many people as possible, but it's clear that Cosmo's powers have their limits. Regardless, she's fiercely loyal to her teammates and eventually becomes a member of the new Guardians lineup. Of course, her most important attribute is being a very good dog who deserves all the treats.
I knew you believe I'm a good dog.
Right. Get off me, idiot.
You don't get the nickname the deadliest woman in the galaxy without earning it, probably a few times over. There are an awful lot of other tough MCU women vying for the title, and to beat them all, Gamora must have provided a genuinely frightening amount of evidence for her case. With the old Gamora, who was actually capable of love, dead, the version of her that remains is still every bit the ruthless assassin that Thanos trained her to be. Adopted by the Mad Titan at a young age, Gamora spent almost the entirety of her life either training to kill or actively killing. The Gamora that audiences came to love as a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy is gone, sacrificed for the Soul Stone, and in her place is a living weapon with all of the ability and none of the compassion. In all of her appearances, though, Gamora has demonstrated her speed, endurance, tactical thinking, and skill with weaponry of all kinds. In other words, Gamora is the whole package. Frank Castle, more commonly known as the Punisher, may not be one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, but he's one that most criminals definitely wouldn't want to come face to face with. Anything is a weapon in the hands of the ruthless anti-hero, and when he has access to one of his many trusty firearms, he's a master marksman who hits his targets with ease. Castle is also a solid tactician, as he can frequently tell when he's about to walk into a trap and is usually able to counter whatever's waiting for him. Punisher is no doubt powerful, but the quality that makes him truly intimidating is his willingness to kill any bad guy that gets in his way without a second thought. Plenty of heroes try to avoid killing whenever they can, but Castle has no qualms about putting a criminal in the ground. If you see that giant skull on his suit coming for you, it's unlikely you'll make it home alive. For those and many other reasons, it's not likely that the Avengers will ever allow him to be a proper member of the team, but that won't stop him from continuing to dole out punishment.
You gonna send me to a nut house? Some doctor they're gonna get me to stop from doing what I want to do? Well, that ain't happening! Not on my watch!
If Frank Castle is a wrecking ball, lawyer/superhero Matt Murdock is a precision knife. Daredevil is far more nimble in the way he handles hordes of bad guys, mostly because he adheres to a strict no-killing code, at least most of the time. There's a dark side to him that villains would do best to avoid, as seen in Daredevil Born Again when he throws Bullseye off a roof. Whether he's in control of his emotions or not, Daredevil is an immensely skilled fighter, aided greatly by his heightened senses. His blindness doesn't hold him back in the slightest, as his enhanced hearing allows him to detect enemies coming from far away. It even helps him in his legal career, as he can even sense changes in people's heart rates to figure out when they're lying. It's not evidence that's admissible in court, but it allows him to take on cases in which he is truly confident of his client's innocence.
How did you just do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
Daredevil earns a slight edge over Punisher, as the hero of Hell's Kitchen won their battle in the Netflix Daredevil series. That's not all though, as Murdock has also taken on Kingpin and Echo and emerged victorious. As far as street-level heroes are concerned, they don't come much tougher. With the release of the Marvels, it's becoming official. Monica Rambeau is one of the MCU's most versatile, all-around powerhouses. Like her Marvel Comics counterpart, she has the ability to control and even become any form of energy. She's as adaptable and powerful as it gets, and fans have only seen the briefest glimpse of her true power in the MCU. In the comics, Rambeau has gone by Spectrum, Photon, Pulsar, and even Captain Marvel, a title she lived up to through her strength and heroism. Just as her powers and titles varied, so too did her team affiliations. She's been a part of the Ultimates, Next Wave, and even multiple Avengers lineups. The MCU version, on the other hand, is still discovering her cosmic powers and remains a non-Avenger. Monica Rambeau is even more formidable on the page. She can fly, fight, lead her own squads, and, as she once casually revealed to Vision, she's technically immortal. Since she's made of energy, which cannot be destroyed, neither can she. That means that Rambeau, no matter which title she has at the time, may end up the last MCU hero standing when all is said and done.
Higher, further, faster.
When viewers last saw Love at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder, she was barely an adolescent, having only just been reincarnated by the magic of eternity. Even before her death and rebirth, she was only a few years old, making her by far the youngest superhero to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even at such a young age, however, Love is easily one of the strongest heroes around, and in time, she could very well become the most powerful of all. In such a short time, Love has been granted more power than almost anyone. She was reborn as a child of Gore the God Butcher and Eternity, giving her one of the most elite pedigrees in the MCU. Combine that with her training from Thor, and Love is a child with the raw power and burgeoning talent to rival most major heroes. In her brief appearance, Love reveals a lot about her abilities. She shoots some form of optic beams and wields Stormbreaker in battle as if she were 3 times as tall. Perhaps more telling than either of those, however, is the fact that Thor evidently trusts his adopted daughter to fight alongside him against armies of powerful foes. Introduced in a post-credit scene at the end of Eternals, and only appearing for a few fleeting seconds, Eros, also known as Starfox, is about as far from the MCU spotlight as anyone. Perhaps the only thing keeping him in the public's mind is the fact that he's portrayed by Harry Styles.
What a pleasure to make your acquaintance, my fellow Eternals.
A prince of Eternals and a brother of Thanos, Starfox is an obvious powerhouse from his genetics and upbringing alone. That's what's confirmed about him in the movies. But in the comics, he's done a whole lot more. On the page, Starfox is a cut above many of his Eternal peers, with the ability to fly fast enough to travel between worlds. More importantly, Starfox has the ability to physically alter the brains of those around him, stimulating their pleasure centers. With that power, he can talk his way through almost any situation and gain almost anything he desires, a handy trait in a universe full of cosmically powerful artifacts. Another powerful comic character who's just getting started in the MCU is the cosmic entity Adam Warlock. His introduction in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 saw him successfully take on all of the Guardians, kicking the events of the film into motion. He boasts super strength, flight, and he can shoot energy projectiles at his opponents. Plus, he can survive in the vacuum of space without the need for a helmet. The main thing holding Adam Warlock back at this point is that he's a bit too immature. He was taken out of his birth pod prematurely, so he doesn't quite understand social cues. It's quite possible that this also impacts his powers, and with enough training, he could develop even stronger abilities. In the comics, Adam develops the power of cosmic awareness, allowing him to create wormholes and even see through time. The MCU's Adam hasn't gotten that far, but now that he's fighting on the side of good as a member of the new Guardians team, maybe he'll mature and tap into some other impressive powers. It takes a uniquely potent skill set to bring Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch to blows, and only America Chavez has that power. Specifically, the young heroine has the ability to punch star-shaped holes through the multiverse, an ability almost entirely unique and of infinite value. Imagine stepping through a portal onto a world with plentiful Doomsday weapons with which to arm yourself, a world full of eager superheroes ready to follow you back through and aid you, or a world full of cosmic rays which can turn you into the next Captain Marvel. Everyone besides Chavez can only imagine such feats, but they're entirely within her grasp. She could have probably beaten Thanos with ease by sending him through a portal into a deadly universe from which he'll never return. As silly as it may sound to play the what-if game when trying to accurately compare abilities, the very nature of Chavez's powers make what-ifs her reality. That's why America Chavez is one of the most powerful MCU heroes. Avenger or not, she's utterly unlimited. It's a classic story, one told again and again throughout history. A peerless warrior defeats a great enemy and ascends to the throne, only to find that the crown doesn't suit them quite as well as the blade did. Unfortunately for Valkyrie, she's another warrior cursed with royalty, and it's keeping Marvel fans from seeing the true extent of her godly power unleashed. Her story has been almost nothing but alternating tragedy and bureaucracy thus far in the MCU, and it's kept that power hidden for almost the entire time.
I miss fighting. I miss my sisters.
That said, there's a reason Thor wanted to be a Valkyrie when he grew up, just as there's a reason the Valkyries are still remembered as some of the fiercest warriors in the universe. Valkyrie is a fearsome fighter, whether she's bounty hunting on Sakaar or taking on Thanos' army. Both on foot and in the air, she's the last thing many bad guys ever see. It's all too easy to forget, or even purposefully ignore, the Eternals as members of the MCU's superhero roster, especially given the film's lukewarm reception from fans and positively frigid response from critics. Nevertheless, the gods are among us in the MCU, and some of them are powerful enough to make the Avengers look like minor leaguers. One such character is Thena, the Eternal who inspired the myth of Athena and gained the nickname the Warrior Eternal. No small feat when compared to a race of immortal superhero protectors. Boasting near immortality and enhanced physiology, Thena's powers allow her to kill the Prime Deviant Crow and temporarily fend off Icarus. Her only major weakness is the condition she suffers from known as Mod Weary, which causes random violent outbursts. Probably the most significant piece of evidence pointing to Thena's almost unrivaled ability is Marvel producer Nate Moore's suggestion that Thena could prove a match for Captain Marvel in her binary form, but that's just speculation at this point. We'll just have to wait and see how the Eternals plan to make their grand return, if they ever do. Wong is everywhere, and with good reason. Actor Benedict Wong described Phase 4 as Phase Wong due to the unprecedented amount of appearances he made in the film block. But no matter how many times he appears, fans never seem to tire of the magical hero. Not only is Wongers a beloved fan favorite, but he's also the reigning Sorcerer Supreme and Master of Kamar-Taj. When it comes to magical power on Earth, Wong is the top dog, and that makes him one of the 616 dimension's biggest guns. One memorable scene in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings shows Wong trouncing Abomination in a one-on-one fight, which implies that the sorcerer would probably be able to take on the Hulk. Wong also chops one of Cole Obsidian's arms off in Infinity War, fends off Gargantos and the Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness, and helps She-Hulk take on demons in her show of the same name. Though he hasn't shown as much willingness to draw power from dark magic as Stephen Strange, that may end up a point in Wong's favor. Magical mastery without allegiances to and vendettas with dark powers is almost certainly the safer and more reliable life path.
Sometimes I do wonder about my other lives. And I remain grateful in this one.
With the series Loki, the MCU opened into an almost incomprehensibly vast multiverse. With that unraveling came the introduction of variants, alternate versions of established characters from different universes, and one of the most memorable is Sylvie Laufeydottir. Sylvie is another universe's Loki, which means that she's powerful to begin with, but even Loki didn't have it in him to kill He Who Remains. Although Sylvie is Asgardian royalty in the same way that Loki is, with all the godly strength and longevity that includes, her upbringing affected her differently. As a child, she caused a Nexus event, forcing her to hide from the Time Variance Authority by jumping from timeline to timeline. Without a lifetime of guidance from Odin and training from Frigga, she's not quite as powerful as Loki, but their duel ended in a draw nonetheless. Hopefully she'll have plenty to do once Secret Wars sends all the timelines crashing together.
Be careful what you wish for.
Despite all the power and prowess wielded by Eternals like Icarus and Thena, it was Sersi who was chosen to lead them all as the Prime Eternal. While a large part of that decision came as a result of her compassion, drive, and natural affinity for leadership, it was also a product of her almost impossibly powerful ability to transmute matter at will. As if the average suite of Eternal powers, which includes near immortality, super strength, speed, stamina, and the rest wasn't enough, Sersi is a walking, talking Philosopher's Stone, able to transform any substance into any other. This already makes her potentially one of the most important beings in the galaxy, given that she could also produce gold, nuclear fuel, and whatever else she can imagine. Sersi surprised even herself by demonstrating the ability to turn a deviant foe into a tree, implying that she can transmute life just the same as inorganic material. She's a living factory capable of creating food, fuel, or living weapons on a whim, which is a downright scary amount of power. The MCU is fortunate to have that power lie in such benevolent hands. It's pretty hard for any Hulk to not sit near the top of a relevant most powerful list. If they didn't make it, it's a safe bet that their crippling lack of self-control and lapses in cognizance are to blame. Luckily for Jennifer Walters, the sensational She-Hulk, she has neither problem, as she was able to bring her Hulk form under control almost immediately. She can control exactly when she changes, and when she's tall and green, she remains the same whip-smart attorney she always was. Jennifer's combination of strength and intellect means she's one of the MCU's best and brightest. She-Hulk's comic book counterpart is one of the strongest heroes around, and her MCU version isn't far behind. When trained by her cousin Bruce Banner, she was able to match and even outdo him in a number of superhuman tasks in rapid form.
She-Hulk smash.
Though her strength and endurance are obviously top tier, it's also worth noting She-Hulk's other, perhaps less obviously useful power. Her ability to see the fourth wall, which means she can sense and even change entire aspects of her own reality. Even though it's mostly used for jokes, it technically makes her capable of extraordinary things. Of course, She-Hulk isn't the only Marvel character to talk directly to the audience. That's Deadpool's specialty, along with impressive weapon skills and a durable healing factor. Unfortunately, his application to join the Avengers was declined in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Fetch the car. I want to hit Shake Shack. Rejection makes me hungry. No, please. No.
Even though Wade Wilson isn't considered Avengers material, his abilities would make the anti-hero an asset to the team. If he wasn't so good at irritating his allies, they'd probably appreciate his proficiency with swords, guns, and nunchucks a bit more. That and the fact that he'd still be cracking wise if his head was cut off. Of course, most people love Deadpool for his sense of humor, which usually involves shattering the fourth wall in some fashion. Deadpool knows he's in a cinematic universe, and he's aware of other characters even though he's never been seen interacting with them. His MCU know-how means that he probably knows every character's major weaknesses, which he could easily exploit. Whether or not he would actually want to do that is another question. Wade is willing to make things harder for himself just to get in a good gag, and considering that he forgot to bring guns to a gunfight in his first solo movie, he's not much of a planner anyway. It's kind of a toss-up as to whether Deadpool or Wolverine is more powerful. But in the MCU, the slight edge goes to Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine features 2 fights between the duo, but in each case, the skirmish ends without a definitive winner being declared. They both get some good shots in, but it's important to remember just how many times Wade got sliced to hell while traveling the multiverse in search of a new version of Logan. Wolverine has far more battle experience than Wade Wilson, which comes with the territory of having an extended lifespan. He can be just as vicious as Deadpool, but he knows when to exercise restraint a bit more, but not that much. Sometimes, the power of words is what gets Wolverine what he needs, and he's a little better at serious negotiations than his red-suited friend. But of course, the final lesson of Deadpool and Wolverine is that heroes and anti-heroes work better together. It doesn't matter who's more powerful as long as they save the multiverse, but the answer to that question is still Logan. Shang-Chi may not be the most established hero in the MCU, but the young hero has both supreme martial arts skills and magical artifacts in his arsenal. He wields the 10 rings, objects that can grant their owner nearly limitless power. When his father, Zhu Wenwu, had them, he became immortal and raised an army, and there's technically nothing stopping his son from doing the same. Thankfully though, Shang-Chi is a little nicer than his dad. He'll only use his abilities to fight evil, although he'll step into the arena if he really has to. Even without the rings, Shang-Chi is a force to be reckoned with. His father's instruction traumatized him, but it also made him one of the most formidable fighters around.
You trained your son to be a killer. Is this what you wanted?
The comic book Shang-Chi is a master of every martial art and hand-to-hand weapon, and Simu Liu's version has already demonstrated a sizable fraction of that mastery. With added time, he'll almost certainly demonstrate more. When Shang-Chi does finally join the Avengers, they'll be very fortunate to have him around. The man with no love for the surface world gets some love on our list for being a beastly fighter. He's known by some as
Kukulkan,
but comics heads know him as Namor, king of the underwater Talokan kingdom. Namor wins some points just for being able to live underwater, a task that would defeat most people on this list. With the power of his army behind him, He almost toppled the most advanced nation on the surface of the Earth, going toe-to-toe against their ruler and essentially fighting her to a draw. As a mutant, his strength is thought to come close to the Hulk, with the two sharing the rare ability to just throw military equipment around at will. With his unorthodox feathered feet, he can also fly without the assistance of technology, making him a formidable opponent on land, air, and sea. King T'Challa may be gone, but his replacement as ruler and Black Panther, Shuri, is no slouch. As perhaps the smartest person in the world, she's able to develop an artificial heart-shaped herb and carry on her brother's mission as the hero of Wakanda. The mind behind countless scientific and engineering achievements, Shuri's intellect even exceeds that of Tony Stark. Her ingestion of the heart-shaped herb and visit to the ancestral plane give her all the inhuman physical prowess of the Black Panther. Even her suit is an incredible feat of engineering, allowing her to absorb damage and generate energy pulses on command. She proves her worth by taking on Namor, ruler of Talokan, besting him in combat before accepting his surrender and forming an alliance between their two nations.
Vengeance has consumed us. We cannot let it consume our people.
Whether or not she ever ends up joining the ranks of the Avengers, Shuri is definitely one of the most formidable fighters in the MCU and a worthy successor to the Black Panther name. With the possible exception of Starfox, no powerful hero has had less screen time than Clea, who only shows up during the mid-credits scene of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Given the character's significance in the comics and momentous MCU introduction, though, she's incredibly likely to have a big impact in the future. For those unfamiliar with the comics, Clea is the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, succeeding Strange after his death. Unlike Strange, she's not merely a human with a knowledge of magic. She's actually half Falcon, a race of beings made of pure magic, whose most famous exemplar, besides Clea, is the Dread Dormammu himself. That's no coincidence either, as the Dark Lord is actually Clea's uncle. Also unlike Strange, her dual heritage has enabled her to act as the Sorcerer Supreme for both Earth and the Dark Dimension, and that double duty isn't a job that just anyone can maintain. As a sorcerer, she's almost as learned and practiced as Strange, if not more so. Her future in the MCU is still unknown, but one thing is for sure, it won't be boring. From the destroyer of New York to the savior of all realities, the Asgardian agent of chaos known as Loki has come a very, very long way. The first villain to take on the Avengers all at once becomes more of an anti-hero as time goes on, and by the end of his journey, he's the most powerful one around. Loki is Asgardian royalty, making him roughly equivalent to the likes of Thor and Valkyrie. He was trained by Frigga in magic and has proven himself an exceptional sorcerer. He's an excellent hand-to-hand combatant and a master manipulator, able to fight or talk his way into or out of almost anything. He has wielded both the Space Stone and Mind Stone at once, a feat that Ebony Maw claims no other being but Thanos has ever accomplished. Beyond any of his other powers, skills, and accomplishments, however, Loki's #1 asset is his mind. He's one of the only beings aware of the TVA, the multiverse, its creation, destruction, and recreation, and the many variants of Kang. The end of Loki Season 2 sees him reform the multiverse into the shape of the World Tree Yggdrasil, taking on the massive responsibility of tending to the timelines.